Hi guys, today I'm going to make a video that I have planned on making for a long time, but as you probably already know, then in a few days time I'm going out on a big kayak trip, and I thought that this might be the best time, or a real good time anyway, to make this video. And this video is, as the headline says, about being preparedness. Now, how to prepare for a trip, may that be your normal traveling trip, or if it is going out in the nature as we're going to do, then everybody have their own way of doing it. So I'm not making this video to tell you that there's only one way and telling you that this is the right way. What I am saying is that this way is some way that I have done it for so long and for so many years that I have come to find it to be a very good way for me to be prepared. Because before I get into the specifics of how I prepare myself, let me explain a little bit about the need for it. Most of the decisions that is made and that are very wrong or can have some bad consequences, they are made when you're out of balance. So the art of having a good trip is to be as good prepared as you possibly can. Now, there will always be a lot of unforeseen things happening when you're traveling. That's just the nature of it, especially if you like to do trips like the ones I like to do, where you're venturing into unknown territory and you're doing things that you're not normally doing. But if your foundation as far as preparation are properly done, then you will have a lot less likelihood of being brought out of the balance. And if you are not brought out of balance, your decisions are most likely to be a lot more sound, a lot more logical, a lot more solid, and with the prospect of actually having a success no matter what is thrown at you. And the way I've done it is I have like 4 bullet points that I work by, and I call it the means of end, a means to an end. And a means to an end is because it is about nothing, normal, need, and nice. Those are the 4 things that I work with. And let me explain that a little bit. The first and most important step in your preparation is to know whether you're fit for the job, whether you're fit for the adventure. Are you in a good, healthy state? Are you physically strong enough for whatever you want to do? May that be climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or is it in this case going kayaking? Are you mentally fit? Are you in balance? Have you got a lot of bad luggage with you that you maybe should have solved before you start out on an adventure like this? Damn it, I got big red ants here. Those are things that you can sort out beforehand, so you know whether you are in balance. But it's also about skills, it's about knowledge, it's about how much time have you spent honing those skills, because that ballast is a foundation that will give you an edge. If you should stand out there, and just for the sake of the example of it, let's say that you end up in a situation where you're just wearing your underpants, you're doing nothing else. Now I know the likelihood of that to happen is very slim, if not down to nothing, but it can happen. And in the case it happens, it is important if you're consciously aware of what you want to do in that case and what tools do you have in your mental box to prevail. And that's all it is. So while most of those skill sets or values, they're actually something that you can use on an everyday basis. It's always good to be in mental health. It's always good to be physical strong. And it's always good to hone some survival skills in terms of how to make fire, how to purify water, how to find your way, how to navigate. And all these basic things. There are a few things in this level 1, in this first level, that can be specific for the trips you're doing. And in this particular case, we're doing kayaking in Kayaking National Park. I've not been there, only a little short bit of it, but the preparation for there would be to figure out how does the terrain look like? What kind of animals are we in risk of encountering? Are there wild tigers? Are there wild monkeys? Are there wild elephants? Snakes are everywhere, and so you also might prepare specifically in terms of first aid if you encounter one of those issues. You also want to maybe look at alternatives in the area in terms of in emergency, how to get out of there. And so there is a lot of specific things that you can do to prepare yourself in in each case. But bottom line is, if you should be thrown totally out of your comfort zone and be left just wearing your underpants, what do you then have? That is what it is. That's why it's called nothing. You don't have anything, but yet you have the core values. The second step, which is called normal. I've chosen that word not just because I need another N in the application here, but also because in the survival community we got something called the EDC, and it's called everyday carry. But it doesn't really comply to the situation here, because my so-called EDC varies depending on what I do. That's why I choose to call it normal. Because if I'm in everyday civilian life, I would be carrying my keychain with me, and in that one I do have a whistle and a fire steel and so on, but I would never carry a knife, for instance. If I'm doing hiking, then my normal situation would be another setup. If I'm trail running, a third setup, and if I'm doing kayaking, it's a last setup there too. But there are some similarities to it, and I'd say if I'm doing hiking, camping, kayaking and those kind of things, then there is, for instance, my my neck knife. That is mandatory to bring along. Let's just see if I can get it out of here without muscling my microphone. This one here, this is basically just a small utility knife, which is extremely handy, and it's right with you at all time. And then I bring my trusted SRK, search and rescue knife. I'll have a separate review with my knives, but those are the things that I bring. I'll also have a small survival blanket with me and a little bit of cordage of paracord. And those are the four things that I'll bring for me on the normal level. And here I used to picture myself being in a kayak and the whole thing capsizes on me, and I am thrown into the water, and whatever I'm left with there, I'm not butt naked, I'm wearing whatever I choose to wear as a permanent part of my person. And those are the things that carry me with me. So I'll always have my knife in my belt. I would have one of those survival blankets in my pocket, and I will have my neck knife around my neck, and I will also have my keychain without my key though, but it's got the fire steel in it and it's got a whistle in it. And it basically means that without too much of an effort, I am able, if I should be really thrown out of there, I'm able to make shelter, hide myself from a very hard sun or for the rain or for the wind with just this little blanket here. I'm able to make fire without making too much hassle. Yes, I can do that on the nothing level because I can make friction fire, but I know by experience it takes time, especially in the rainy season, and there's no reason to cause too much trouble and hassle to yourself if all it takes is to consciously to make a decision as to what to bring. So having this in your bag and your fire steel, then you're good. The whistle is obviously because it's so much better and easier to make distinct noises that attract people with a whistle compared to, for instance, trying to yell for hours on end, and you will eventually lose your voice. My knives, self-defense, and my SRK is good for batonging. It's good for very heavy work without having to carry a machete with me, and therefore that's my trusted knife. So level 2 is actually where we start talking luxury here. We're talking about a combination of your knowledge, a combination of your skill set, and then what do you want to bring along in combination with those that makes your life easier. Now, once we get from level 2, we get to level 3. That is the need level, as I used to say, need to have. But this is the level that most people are familiar with. This is where we were talking about what do you want to bring to make this trip nice. What you want to bring to make this trip a cozy, good trip. We're talking sleeping bags, sleeping pads, multiple choices of tents or hammock, like you can see one of the videos I made. And it is what kind of food you want to bring, what kind of options do you have to cook your food. It is first aid kits, depending again where you're going, what you need. It is all those things, in this particular case, maybe even, not a maybe, but sure, a kayak. So it's all those things that you need to complete the trip according to your expectations. And again, it's all individual, from person to person, what you need, what you like, how you look at it, and what are your background for doing what you're doing. The fourth level is nice. That is nice to have. Now, nice to have is kind of self-explanatory, but it helps you. If you are consciously aware of that level, it helps you pack. Because there will always be a time where you think, oh, I like this one, and I like this one, I like this one, and you consider that all a need. But some of it might be a nice to have and not a need to have. Like on this trip here, I haven't done my packing on this particular trip, but I am contemplating bringing my cast iron combo pot because I love cooking, and I have the option of cooking because I also bring a lot of freeze-dried food, among raw ingredients like pork and other things, but this is still on the planning stage. So when I get to the time to pack and organize my kayak, I will be able to verify whether I'm able to actually bring it along while still considering that I have to have space in my kayak for myself as a person. And if it does add up, I can do that, all right. But if I do not have room enough, I have a conscious level choice of level 4, nice to have level, and it is in that level I will be sorting things out. I'm also going to bring a lot of camera gear and electronic gear, and all again depending on what are your priorities. Is the trip because you want to document it while you're already out there anyway, or is it primarily because you want to document it and then you go do the trip, or is it a combination? Again, then it varies how much priority do you have to put into all your electronic equipment. Is all of it going to be a level 3, a need, or is it going to be all of it in a nice, so that if the room is really lacking, then that's all of it gone? Or is it going to be some sort of combination where you cut down from 5 to 2 cameras and you cut down from 50 batteries to 3 batteries and stuff like that? So this is basically just become a fundamental way for me to prepare, because it just means that if I'm out there, sure, I would not love to see all my need things get lost, get hammered by a wild elephant, or get downstream from a river. I would really, really hate that to happen. There's a lot of equipment there. But I'm consciously aware of my potential and possibilities, because I already, before I went off, considered what happened if. And the most fundamental level, do the research first. Make sure you're fit. Make sure you mentally are prepared for what's coming up. Make sure that you have the knowledge and the skills that is needed for it, so that when you are out there, you could be stripped naked and you'll still be capable. If you have consciously made a choice in all those 3 groups or 4 groups, you are prepared for anything. There will happen a lot of unseen things, a lot of exciting things will happen, but it really wouldn't matter all that much, because you are prepared. So guys, I don't know if you could use some of this. Maybe you can, maybe you cannot. I just know that I've been using it for so long with such a success that I thought that if you can't use all of it, you could probably use some of it and adapt it to whatever methods you're using when you're preparing yourself. So until next time, stay curious.